Hey, what's up, y'all? It's Will, and I am very excited today to have Sophia Woo on the phone. Sophia's in Raleigh, North Carolina, and she's a co-owner of MOFU Shop. And this place is just badass, and Sophia's real kind to take some time to talk to us today. She started it with her partner, Sunny, several years ago. They actually won a TV show or food truck show, and has a really cool story. So I want to hear all about that, Sophia. So, well, thank you first of all for taking the time to do this today.
Absolutely. Thank you for having us.
So tell me the backstory about you guys being on that show and winning, and like how did that all go down?
I always tell the story starting off with I had a full-on quarter-life crisis back in 2013, decided I didn't want to be doing what I was doing before. My prior life, I was an accountant, an auditor more specifically. I worked for one of the big four accounting firms, and, it just, no one's ever really happy to see the auditor come around.
Oh, wow. That's what you were doing before. That's a huge...
That's what I was doing before, yeah.
Massive
yeah. And
change.
Sunny, actually, was a biomedical engineer and sort of on her way starting in the industry when, like I said, I had my crisis because I didn't want to be doing what I was doing anymore, but had no other skills to speak of other than the fact that in my free time I was doing a lot of cooking because it was something that was comforting to me, and I watched my mother and grandmother cook growing up. And it was like right at the start of that food truck craze, and Sunny's that one friend of mine that always says yes. And you kind of always need that one friend around who, no matter what crazy idea you come up with, they're like, yeah, that sounds like a great idea. Let's do it. So I convinced her to start the food truck with me. We actually built it ourselves in the winter between 2013 2014. Found the truck on Craigslist, watched a lot of YouTube videos, had friends help us on the weekends in between because we were both still working at the time, so just working on it on the weekends in the middle of the winter when it was really cold, putting it together, not knowing anything that we were doing. I would not advise starting a food truck that way, by the way. I will go ahead and
Golly, that's, yeah.
But, just learned a lot along the way as well. But our very first event with the food truck, we finally, quit our full-time job, started the food truck, was spring of 2014, was actually Broogaloo here in Raleigh, North Carolina, which is, an 8-hour-long North Carolina craft beer festival. Sort of just jumped in the fire with that very first event. And, just had a really great time with it. The first year of business was really difficult. I think first year of any business is difficult, but especially if you talk to anyone who's ever worked on a food truck or own a food truck, they'll tell you that, anything that can happen will definitely happen because, the trucks oftentimes are either bread trucks or old, like, chip trucks, Frito-Lay trucks. They're not used to all that weight that you end up putting on them. And all the cooking equipment that you're going to put on a food truck is used to being in a stationary kitchen. It is not used to the kind of wear and tear of moving, every single day, every single service that you're going to do. So, that first year we went through, in the first 18 months, we went through 3 engines. Our water tank fell off the bottom of the truck. 3 engines, I know.
My gosh.
It's crazy. The water tank fell off the bottom of the truck 2 different times. We dragged it on the highway before realizing that that's what had happened. And then I'll never forget the very first hard freeze of that first winter. Sunny and I forgot about the laws of physics and that you had to drain all of your water pipes because water will expand when it freezes. And we busted every water pipe in the truck and had to replumb everything. But the upside of that is that I actually understand how to plumb myself now, which is a fantastic life skill to have.
That is.
But just, that first year figuring everything out, Sunny and I definitely almost quit just multiple times. I remember sitting by the side of the road waiting for the tow truck to come and Sunny just looking at me and being like, I don't know if we're cut out for this. Like, this is, how are we supposed to do this? It's just challenge after challenge after challenge, that first year. But we persevered and kind of, day to day made it through. And then right at just about the end of the first year, Food Network cold called us. I actually hung up on them. I didn't think it was actually Food Network calling me. I was like, this is totally a prank call.
Oh, that's hilarious.
Isn't that ridiculous? Like now thinking back on it, I was like, I can't believe I hung up on Food Network.
Well, how did they find you? Like, what?
It was a cold call. I think they were looking around on the East Coast for a truck because they had already booked for the season some trucks around the country, but they were looking up and down the East Coast, and I think they were specifically looking in this area because there are so many food trucks around, so many fantastic options around. Because eventually, in talking to our other food truck friends, we found out that other people had been in talks with Food Network as well. But I called them back, and Sunny made me call them back, and they invited us to be on season 6 of the Great Food Truck Race with Tyler Florence.
Okay, so this is 2015.
This is 2015.
Okay,
yeah,
got it.
2015. I just remember one Monday after we had gone through, a couple of phone interviews, a Skype interview, filled out a ton of paperwork, and basically signed a bunch of very, very long contracts. They called us on a Monday. They said, so we can't officially tell you that you're on the show, but we're coming to get your truck on Monday. And it was like, oh, okay. Or they called on a Monday. They told us they were coming to get the truck on Friday. So the season that we did was a little different in that they had trucks that had already established businesses. So oftentimes they do, amateur teams who have never done a food truck before. I think it adds to the drama. But for whatever reason, this season, they wanted veteran food truckers, so to speak. So they came and they actually flatbedded our truck out to California so that we could start, with our truck and the logo and all that good stuff. So, originally we had always sold dumplings and pho was the, our theme on the truck. And so tongue-in-cheek, the original name of the food truck was the Dump Fucking Truck, in an effort to make sure, of course, that you're saying pho correctly. But Food Network, fortunately did say that they would not, they were like, we love you guys, but we can't let you on the show with that name. You've got to change the name, for the purposes of the show. So we went back and forth and eventually ended up on Pho Nominal Dumpling Truck for the purposes of the show, with the thought that we would always change back to our original name because, it was beloved and our fans always got a kick out of it too. That's what we were known as, in the area. But we ended up winning season 6 of the Great Food Truck Race with that name, so we decided to keep the name when we came back. Although your credit card still got charged under the name because we just filed the DBA, but the LLC was still the original LLC.
Love it.
So it was a lot of fun. It's reality TV is a very surreal sort of experience. Highly recommended if you would like no control of your life whatsoever for about 5 to 6 weeks, But anyway, came back from the show, had a great time, just ran the truck really hard for about 2 years, all the while in our free time, sort of looking for a permanent brick-and-mortar spot. And we finally were lucky enough to end up in City Market right down the street from some great restaurants around as well, right on South Blunt Street. And what's cool about our location, actually, is that all of City Market, where the little square that we're in, is historic, including the building that we're in. And so back in the day where we are right now, it used to be a Ford car dealership. So it's got these great big garage doors that
I've seen it. That's what that's from. Okay, I was wondering where y'all got that. Okay, that's really cool.
It worked out really nicely because not having to install garage doors was fantastic for the the ultimate budget. And they're just so fun and cool. And we don't have that much outdoor seating, unfortunately, in our location. So having those garage doors gives us a little indoor outdoor feel. At least on one side of the restaurant. So just got really lucky with the location, and the industry in our area is just exploding right now, and we're just so excited to be part of it during a super dynamic time.
Okay, yeah. So particularly for that are listening that don't know the Raleigh area, I mean, there are so many great independent restaurants in Raleigh, and just so many awesome people like Sophia that are doing just creative stuff. I mean, it's killer. It's incredible. Okay, so y'all opened when in summer of 17? Is that like a little over a year ago? Is that right?
Right. Yeah, just over a year ago. So it was August of 2016 2017 was when we officially opened. Of course, we had a soft opening before that, and friends and family even before our soft opening. But our official grand opening just passed a little over a year ago right now.
Gotcha. Okay. Well, congrats on that. Now, so tell me about and you have you and Sunny have a partner, Matthew Kenner. Is that right?
That is correct. Yes.
Okay.
When we found the location, we had been in talks at a couple different locations that were a little bit smaller, but this one just, I think, fit our aesthetic and our vision. But we knew that we wanted a partner to help us with the bar and a little bit of a cash infusion as well. So Matt owns a couple other bars in the area and now a restaurant as well. But MOFU was his sort of first foray into the restaurant world and the food world. He's since opened it's called Southern Charred, which is a barbecue restaurant on Glenwood near his other locations. And he's got a bar on Fayetteville Street, Anchor Bar as well.
Okay, gotcha. So we'll talk about that. So you're going from the food truck to the I mean, this is a big transition, and so you find Matt to help with some cash. I mean, do y'all get other investors, or how did you raise the money to get this thing going?
So Sunny and I both were lucky enough to get loans from our family.
Okay.
And then with the cash infusion and the added investment partnership with Matt, we were able to open the restaurant.
Okay, good
without
deal.
any other debt or investors. Yeah.
Oh, that's good. Having that outside debt's a great thing.
Mm-hmm.
That's real helpful, especially early on, to not have that debt service hanging over you. So okay, well then you and did you? I mean, tell me about the concept. Like, how do you go from food truck to this physical location, and what were you wanting to like? What was the story for MOFU Shop, and how did you kind of project out like what was going to happen, or what you hope would happen?
Sunny and I are very different, and we always joke that we're like exact opposites of each other. And the only thing that we usually have in common is the ultimate vision and just very different ways of tackling it. But one of the things that Sunny has definitely taught me is that say yes, and crazy, wonderful things can happen when you say yes, including a reality TV show and a restaurant. So in some ways, I think that we were not really aware of what was going to happen and what owning a full service. I wouldn't call it fine dining, but sort of fine casual or fast fine, whatever you'd like. That it's a very different world than a food truck. The steps of service are completely different. What you need to be aware of is completely different. Your touch point with a customer is so short in a food truck that it's all about, short, impactful, meaningful relationships and experiences. It's the saying hi when someone walks up, knowing their name, knowing their order, those kinds of things. But in a restaurant, it's a lot of people just walking into the restaurant, not knowing who Sunny and I are, not knowing any of our backstory, and they're interested in the full experience. Of the moment they walk in the door, what does it feel like? How am I going to be taken care of? What's the food going to be like? Are the servers, knowledgeable on the food? So it was definitely both logistically and concept-wise a big change. The thing that has stayed the same, and theory in terms of the food, is that Sunny and I we joke that the restaurant and the food truck actually were like authentically Asian American, whatever that means. Sunny and I both feel very, very fortunate that we grew up with feet planted very firmly in two different cultures, both the American culture and both of our families are from Taiwan. So being able to see and identify with both cultures, I think, has created our theory when it comes to food, in that it should be fun, it should be interesting, it can have hints of all different types of cultures in it. We're sort of pan-Asian. We don't stay in any one region, and we certainly don't purport to be authentic in any way other than, we have a good time with it. It's always going to taste good, and it's always going to have a story to tell, and that it's a little bit of this, a little bit of that. Here are all the things that we enjoy. Food is such a unintimidating way to start learning about a new culture, about a new way of thinking. That Sunny and I always say that when you come and have a meal with us, it's like we're going to take your hand and we're going to go on this journey, but we're going to be with you the whole time. And, don't be nervous about it. Don't be scared about it. It might be something new. It might be something different, but you're also going to have something that's familiar that you can hold on to as well.
Yeah. Okay. Gotcha. Well, so, God, I mean, you have such an interesting story coming from being in accounting and now the kind of place you have. What have you, and then, from food truck to this, I mean, food truck, it's you and Sunny and you're doing your thing, but now you've got a team of people, and I know you've had an interesting week. Like, tell me what you've learned about things that, or you've kind of had to learn from having an actual physical location and having a team of people that you're there to lead and inspire and to teach and to grow with. What's come of that?
Absolutely. So, the nice thing about, I guess, going from a food truck that is constantly having issues to a brick and mortar is that, at least logistically, like the physical aspect of, machinery and location and all that, Sunny and I were very, I guess, well-versed in terms of problem solving when it came to like physical issues and demands and fixing things and things like that, thinking on our feet. So that part of the transition was less of an issue. It was just magnified, I guess you could say, different issues that we were dealing with, versus on the truck when you have a water pump, now you've got a water heater and like sinks and things like that, and the normal things that can go wrong. But yeah, absolutely. The managing and having a staff part is very different. That's been the biggest transition because, like you said, on a food truck we had at max 3 other people working on the truck with us, and it's a tiny space, and you can sort of see and control, and you're the ones providing service, right? Like Sunny would generally take orders, say hi to people, and generally I was the one getting food out to people, calling people's names, and eventually handing them the food. So you sort of, in one trip to the truck, you would always see Sunny and you would always see me, and we always got to say hi and take care of everybody. The restaurant's very different in that at any time I have between 20 to 30 people on staff, part-time, front of house, back of house. And it's very different. That was the biggest thing that Sunny and I had to learn, was managing people, doing the schedule, trying to keep sort of everyone happy and think about everyone's well-being all at the same time. But the biggest thing that we've learned is probably something that's very intuitive to someone who's been in the service for a long time, but it's staff comes first. Like, that is absolutely our number one priority, because if we can take care of them, if we can teach them, if we can mentor them, and give them all the tools that they need, they're going to be the ones who can take care of our customers the best, and make sure that everyone who walks in the door has a great experience. And having the back of house be happy, like the food just tastes better, service runs better, and having back of house and front of house happy and working as a team, that's always something that we think about as well. It's about the culture of what it feels like when you're at MOFU, not just as a customer, but as someone who's going to choose to work there and spend a lot of time there. That's something that we will never compromise on, and something that I think both Sunny and I will always say is our priority and something near and dear to our hearts. Like, it's a family. It's the MOFU family, and we're here to take care of our customers.
Yeah, absolutely. And so by really investing in your staff, and you can tell it's very genuine and authentic. It's not I mean, it's not a strategy; it's how you operate. It's in your DNA. That's very clear from listening to you. So, but that translates into a team of people that.
Thank you.
Yeah. Oh, yeah, absolutely. You have like you said, it's a family, and when you have a family, you all look out for each other. I mean, I would imagine your staff, like, people come and go in the restaurant business. Turnover's always there. So when you have new people in, you probably have a lot of. Your staff is so vested in this that they probably help, I would imagine, a lot with just managing those folks or self-policing or making sure they're the right fit and things like that as well. So it doesn't all fall on you and Sunny, I would guess. Yeah.
Yes, absolutely. And we tell our staff all the time that they are our, cultural ambassadors, so to speak. Like, they are the ones who help us, continue the MOFU culture in the environment. And it's funny when you talk about turnover because, of course, just like any restaurant, we've had turnover, and it's always bittersweet when that happens. I always get really excited for someone, personally, when they take the next step and move on from us. And go on to do, amazing things. But we've actually had people sort of leave, do some things, and then come back. And so, that is a huge compliment and something that we have a lot of pride in as well.
Let me ask you this. Okay, so I mean, the folks that work for you, and I know everybody. I mean, they're all very, very different, but and you've probably got different groups. But do you have some that are there that are there, for a short time because they're between careers or they're a student at state or something like that, and they have other plans?
Mm-hmm.
And then do you also have folks that are there because they're going to be there? And that's where they want to be, and that's what they want to do, and they love being a part of what you're doing for as long as you are doing it.
Absolutely. So I definitely have both, or people who fall into both groups, and that's front of house and back of house actually. But I think that again, it's just, if we're going to be here, we might as well have a good time and support each other while we are here, and I think that I want to invest, and we do invest just as much in you as a person and as an employee at MOFU, whether you fall into one category, or another. While you are here with us, you are MOFU family, and even when you leave, like, you are always going to be MOFU family. And it's funny because we have like team outings and events, and people who don't work with us anymore on a regular basis still come and hang out with us during our team outings and events. And I sent out the email to like everyone, and it's so funny. People show up. There was once we had a staff member just kind of as a joke show up to our front of house staff meeting. I brought donuts just to come and say hi, despite the fact that he didn't need to be there for the rest of us because he wasn't serving with us anymore, and it was fantastic seeing. So it's a good time. It's I know that certainly that's something that all of us right now in Raleigh struggle with, retention and finding good people, and it's really just because we have so many fantastic restaurants, so many fantastic establishments around right now that you can go anywhere and really work with quality people and quality concepts and all that. And one of the things that I kind of, it just drives me nuts is how a lot of people my age and older in this industry like to gripe about millennials and people younger than millennials. I don't actually know what the next generation is called. The ones, I guess, who are younger than millennials.
I don't know, but no, I hear you. I hear you.
And then, of course, like some people just lump me into the category millennial. But, I keep, as much as possible, I keep saying and telling them, the people who are griping about it, is like, it's not, I think that millennials and the next generations coming up after them, I think they're the ones who are going to change the world and fix a lot of things that need to be fixed around right now. Like, they are a generation that is incredibly, I think, resilient. They're incredibly social, and they're nimble, and with the way that technology is right now, they are the ones that I see creating just a ton of change. And, I think maybe the only thing that our generation or older needs to, I guess, pass on is just the concept of patience. Because, and this isn't their fault because they've grown up in a world where everything's instant because of technology. And I think that literally that's probably the only part of the secret sauce, so to speak, that's missing for some of them, that I see, that they're just wanting things so quickly that, if we can just mentor them to be patient, think about things a little bit longer, work at things a little bit longer, that I think that they will, like I said, be the ones to sort of take what we have now and just improve it beyond measure. And these are the people who are going to be our customers, in now and moving forward. I really don't think that there's any point in griping about what you think is wrong with the next generation. Rather, we should be, having them as our young mentors, teaching us about everything that they know, and vice versa, and starting the conversation versus just complaining about them. And front of house, generally speaking, is a little bit younger than back of house.
Yeah.
And like you said, a lot of times it is sort of a temporary job, but I see that as such a pro. Or in the pro column, though, because it's just a constant infusion of energy, of new ideas, of all these things that they can teach us, and it's new people every time who are teaching me new things on a constant basis. I go to them for questions about social media and what platforms we need to be on, and what sort of value people are looking for in our posts and the things that we do. In a social setting, and they're constantly teaching me about ways to tweak things. So, I just really think that there's such a value, actually, to having a little bit of that turnover, and listening to front of house, that new energy.
Yeah, that's a great way to put it. It really is. Every generation, I think, says that, they worry about the next generation, and then the next generation
Right.
comes along and does something great. And then, so I think that's just that's sort of the cycle. But I think you have a really healthy and positive and really good way of looking at it, Sophia. I mean, and it's so true. I mean, there is so much to learn, and the patience thing is challenging, and you kind of can't fault them. I mean, when you grow up with, that's
right,
it's how do you expect that? We kind of had to learn patience just because it was just how things were or whatever. So things are a little different now. And I mean, I have 3 kids.
Right.
I'm right in the smack in the middle of this, so I do learn from them, and we do talk about patience a lot. Well, that's interesting. I love your philosophy on that. Here y'all are. You're just over a year into it. What has been the most positive, surprising thing that's happened over the last year?
Positive, surprising thing, I think, is one, how much I've grown really attached to my staff.
Okay.
Yeah. And, it's one of those things where in the accounting world, a lot of people who you meet are sort of all at that same, baseline of life and life experiences. Within the restaurant industry, it's just incredible, the diversity in terms of, the people that I come in contact with, where they're from, how they see the world, what their circumstances are. It is literally just across the board. And our customers are incredibly diverse too. So I've met just amazing people who have come into the restaurant to eat. And, having that network, having that deep and wide network, and getting to meet people across all different circumstances has been really eye-opening, very humbling, and I'm incredibly grateful for it. And then the other thing is just on a regular basis, I'm surprised by how much people want to come celebrate with us. And like I said, that's such a compliment. We've had 2 people propose, in the restaurant. We've had countless birthdays, countless celebrations, rehearsal dinners, just the fact that somebody wants to come in and have a significant moment of their life in the restaurant is something that I was not expecting and wasn't thinking about when we first opened the restaurant, and it's been so fun. I have gotten probably more nervous than the groom when I know that someone's about to be introduced to in the restaurant, wanting to make sure that the moment's perfect and all of that. So yeah, it just that those kinds of things don't happen in a food truck. So it's just been such a treat.
Oh, absolutely, absolutely, and certainly, gosh. We talked earlier this week. There's never a dull moment. There's positive, exciting things happening. There's fires to put out. There's just things happening all the time, which is so. I have to say, I'm so fascinated. I have to ask you. Okay, so I want to go back to former accountant Sophia.
Yes.
Is that? This is a little bit deeper question here. So bear with me. But did you go to? Did you come up with a strong educational background, go through college, and kind of have a career track in mind? Is that how you wound up there, or how did you wind up there? And then, do you feel like you understand a lot more about yourself now that you left that and are doing what you're doing?
Yeah, that's a great question. So, absolutely, especially being one and only child, and two, the only child of immigrants, certainly growing up, education was the only thing that mattered. I did a lot of extracurriculars, but ultimately it was go to school, get a good job, and have a good life. And, my parents came to this country with 2 suitcases. That's it, not knowing anybody, not knowing the language, and figuring it out as they went. And for them, having a good job that has benefits and enough money in the bank, that's security. Right. Because, if something ever happened, you don't have family around that you can fall back on. The only thing that can help you out of a pickle is having a little bit saved up and having a rainy day fund, So that was what was ingrained in me from a young age. And, it's such a luxury that I got to go to school. And just like everybody else, or a lot of people, I thought I was going, the medical route. I interned actually in a hospital one summer in Dallas, Texas. I worked in a cardiac cath lab. I've had many lives, but that summer I shaved the groin, chest, and back of every single person who came through the cath lab.
Oh my gosh.
Before their procedures. So I just decided after that summer and seeing the medical world firsthand that while I was very interested in it and it was great, I just could not compartmentalize well enough that I thought I would be a great doctor, I was like, I definitely think that going to med school would be fun, but I don't know if I could practice on a daily basis and not take my work home with me, because I was just, stressed and worried about the patients who came in already at that point. And I was like, well, I don't know what else I want to do. I had a little bit, I had, I guess 2 more years in school at that point. So I applied to the business school, because I thought, well, this is something I know nothing about. Everything that I've done up until now was medically and science related. I was like, I want to learn something new while I can. The business school will be great for that. So went into the business school, had a great 2 years, and accounting as a master's degree came up right at the end of that, because job security, placement was great, and honestly, it was a very fast master's degree as well. It was 9 months, and so I thought, well, let's do this. Let's get a master's degree, and let's figure things out from there. So did that, and PwC was a fantastic experience. That was the firm that I worked for. I have never met more intelligent, more hardworking, more fun people than when I worked at the firm for, I guess, 2.5 years. But I just didn't love the work enough. So really when I started the food truck, I don't think I still quite realized what would come of that. It was just well, I don't want to do this anymore. I've switched what I've been doing so many times. Let's just switch again. I was young and single without children at the time, so it was just let's do this for a couple of years and see what happens. But through that experience, through the show, and now through the restaurant, I think that maybe knowing yourself is, I don't know if I know myself any better. I think I've always sort of known who I was in terms of those lines in the sand and what I value.
Okay.
But I will say that the confidence that comes from knowing that I can solve all of these problems, because I've solved them through these past couple of experiences, these past 5 years, that has been probably the most freeing and enlightening and wonderful thing. And I think about that all the time, because that's another thing that I see people who haven't gone through those experiences and maybe are a little bit younger, they don't have that confidence because they haven't made it through, these sort of challenging circumstances yet. And I think all the time about how can we transfer a little bit of that confidence that, like, you can do this, you just have to start. How do I transfer that to someone who sort of hasn't been through the fire and is just nervous to take that first step? So I mean that really, I think, personally has been the biggest difference. Just having that confidence of knowing whatever problem may come, I can figure out how to handle it, or figure out how to find people who are going to help me handle it. And I think part of my philosophy now is if it's a problem that can be solved, A, with money, B, in a short amount of time, or C, on my own, it's not a real problem. And that's great perspective, sort of that prior Sophia didn't have.
Gotcha. Okay, that's great. I love it. I absolutely love that. That's a really interesting way to look at it. I the reason I asked that question is because I think the education system more and more is channeling people into a certain career path, and maybe some of them fortunately realize that's not right and they do something different like you, and it works out really well. And then there's people, I say this just knowing people that, that I know that kind of, get to a point in life where they go, this isn't really what I want, but now it's kind of too late, right? I'm married, I have kids or whatever, and it's a tough thing. So I kind of went through that myself, and that's why I related a little bit. I started out in corporate America at Nations Bank, and realized, after a few years.
I will say, like, realizing it sort of later on, I think, is a little bit of a oof, perhaps, than realizing it 2.5 years in. And I would agree with you that sort of the education system is still that way. And I think it in a lot of ways it has to be that way, because for the people who do continue on to academia and, science and all those other things, and those noble professions, I like, you have to have that K through 12 system there. Although, I'm sure there are academics who would argue with me over that. But, I think that being there and having that foundation was still fantastic for me and for Sunny. But what's beautiful about things now, and like we talked about technology and social media now, is that being an entrepreneur is all of a sudden cool. Well, maybe not all of a sudden, but it's cool now. And people, our generation and younger, like we switch jobs. What is on average? I think last time I looked at the statistic, like 7 times you'll change jobs or careers in your lifetime. It's there's not that stigma, I guess, at least anymore. Everyone celebrates, an entrepreneur who leaves and is successful. Schedule Fly being one of the companies that I think about. That I think it's 5 of you guys, right?
Yeah.
Running it and becoming as great and successful. And I love the way that you guys stay true to who you are, and don't sort of go and do superfluous things that your customers aren't looking for. And I appreciate that. But it's just, like I said, I think social media, I think that the inspirational stuff that, like, you can find online about stepping outside of that traditional role or that traditional mold that you can find just opening up Instagram or Facebook or watching a couple of YouTube videos of like serial entrepreneurs out there.
Yep.
There's definitely a little bit more of that celebration of that. So I think it's easier now actually than it was back in the day to make that jump.
Well, it really is, and thank you for saying that. I really appreciate that because that's so important to us. That narrative that you just suggested, I'm glad it translates to our audience.
Absolutely.
Well. It is good to see that, and I think people are less and less buying into. I think the younger generations are less and less buying into that sort of narrow path. Listen, the K through 12. It's absolutely incredibly important. We're investing a lot in our kids' education, and we want them to work hard and learn. But I think now, hopefully, there's more, like you said. I mean, and you're an example of it. People that are doing things that are not as, sort of straight through okay, now I went to college, now I got my master's, now I'm an accountant, now I'm going to, I'm going to get married, I'm going to have kids, I'm going to have a house, I'm going to retire, I'm going to have a pension, all that kind of stuff. That's changed, and I think that's, that worked for some time, but I think it's good now that there's so many people doing so many things and that they enjoy, and they're able to find a good balance of both the monetary success, but as well as the life fulfillment and life balance, and not feeling like they have to slave away for 50 years until they can hand in their retirement and then enjoy life. Like you can actually do that doing what you do for starting early in life, and not to say you don't have to work hard, you do, but certainly finding maybe a little bit more of the balance and the joy of actually doing the work and the fulfillment in the work itself. I think maybe more and more people are starting to realize that because of examples of people like you, Sophia. So.
Thank you for saying that. I mean, it's about finding work that you love versus having a job, right?
Yes, that's right. That's right. You nailed it. Okay, listen, I think I told you I'd taught you like 20 or 30 minutes. It's been of almost 45, so I'm going to let you roll. I mean, I could literally talk to you all day, but I do respect your time. And but I appreciate this. I know everybody listening will appreciate this and learn a ton from you. And I definitely will be in that area Monday and try to pop in and see you. And But thank you so much. You're inspiring. Absolutely. And you're such a joy to talk to, and it's very uplifting hearing your story and the way you go about running your business, and just I really appreciate you taking the time to do this.
Absolutely. Thank you for chatting with me. I enjoyed it as well, and thank you for everything that you do at Schedulefly.
Awesome. All right, Sophia, have a good one. Y'all have a great weekend, and I'll see you Monday.
See you Monday. Thanks, Will.
All right,
Bye.
Take care. Bye.